right, how do you want to start?
Like this. Hello.
Like this. Hello. Hello.
Hello.
All right, that works. Is that your most obnoxious hello you can?
Hello.
Hello.
I mean, it can get worse. But...
No, that's fine. I think.
Okay.
Okay. So yeah, what did we watch? Well, this week we watched another. This is our third Studio Ghibli movie. We have plans to do 2 more before the end of the year, to kind of wrap up our little, like, I don't know what you would call it, whatever, our little, like, journey through the Studio Ghibli movies. We'll have 1 more episode with Studio Ghibli movies before the end of the year. But so Kiki's Delivery Service, I guess I kind of, I think we talked about this a little bit when we watched Princess Mononoke, right? My Neighbor Totoro was kind of surprising and it's like sweetness and it's niceness, and then you watch Princess Mononoke and it's like a very, very different thing. So what were you expecting when you watched this movie? Like, what were you, what were you thinking when you turned this on?
I was hoping it was going to be cute. And I think it was. Yeah, because, like, I feel like the title of Kiki's Delivery Service, it didn't sound like it could be scary, or, like, not scary, but, like, serious,
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I liked it. Should we talk about what it was about?
What it was about, yeah. I guess I was, like, I had an idea that it was a bit of a, like, lighter movie in tone, but I was like, there was definitely, I think you don't really, there was definitely the first half hour was like on edge, or was like, is this gonna like take a turn? I just, I don't know what this movie's about. And I still think this movie's a lot more similar to Princess Mononoke, right? In its tone my mistake. Let me back that up. This movie's a lot more similar to My Neighbor Totoro in tone than it is to Princess Mononoke. In terms of, and this can kind of take us into what happens in the movie, right? There's no like conflict in this movie, right? There's not that tradition. I think something you said when we watched My Neighbor Totoro. There's not that traditional like narrative structure, right? Where there's like the introduction, you meet all the characters, then there's sort of this like, you kind of establish what the conflict is. There's this rising action, there's some sort of like, where something intense happens, right? And then there's kind of like the fallout and the denouement and the resolution towards the end, right? Like nothing, like the bad things that happen in this movie are like,
Her cat stopped talking.
Pardon?
Her cat stopped talking.
Yeah, is that the word? That's the worst thing that happens in this.
And there was like that kid that almost died, but
yeah, yeah, we can get to that though, because we'll talk about the ending at the end. I guess that's not the most I don't find that to be the most interesting part of the movie, but it is, yeah, right. So like the big sort of indicator that something is wrong in this movie is that she can't talk to her cat anymore, right? And it's like important in the movie, but right in the like, there's no real like conflict in this movie in the way there is in a lot of like more traditional narratives. But so Kiki's Delivery Service. Do you want to set up what this story is for us, Ange?
Yeah. I didn't pull up the Wikipedia this time.
Oh, that's fine.
I guess we're not doing that anymore.
No.
Because we have it in a while.
I thought about it for this one. Well, I mean, I actually do have it right here.
All right.
I can go. All right. So, right, our famous segment, according to Wikipedia, 1989 Japanese animated film, written, produced, and directed by Hayao Miyazaki, adapted from the 1985 novel by, I'm going to get this name wrong, Eiko Kadono. It was animated by Studio Ghibli and distributed by the Toei Company. The film tells the story of a young witch, Kiki, who moves to a new town and uses her flying ability to earn a living. According to Miyazaki, the movie portrays the gulf between independence and reliance in teenage Japanese girls, which I think we can talk about what we think the movie is about more towards the end, right? But so what happens though? That didn't tell us much.
Well, yeah, so it starts off, she, like, randomly, like, is listening to the radio and then decides she's gonna, like, leave her family later that night.
Yeah.
That was a very spontaneous decision. I don't know if it was well thought out.
But it seems to be, like, because no one was, like, shocked. They're like, surprised,
okay.
but they weren't, like,
we're not going
shocked.
camping.
Yeah. Yeah, I was like, it was. I guess we're not going camping this weekend was the big. It seems to be the thing that it seems to be some sort of cultural practice among witches among witches, right? So Kiki's a witch and her mom is a witch. And one thing I really like, I liked how her mom, the depiction of like the way her mom practices witchcraft is sort of just like she's doing chemistry with like beakers and test tubes and things. I thought that was really cute. And she like made her mom, right? They kind of set this up like each witch has their own specialty. And so her mom's specialty is like, around health or making like potions and tonics for people to help their, improve their health or like ease their pain. And so, yeah, so right. Kiki doesn't know what her specialty is, right? She's she's 13. The thing is that you leave your home for a year or two and you go train in another city and sort of learn what you're going to be good at, and then maybe you go home but maybe you don't, but like you're sort of expected to be independent from a very young at this very young age, which, you know, I think that she sort of becomes independent in a certain sense, but you're right, I think that's sort of right. That is the struggle of the movie, right? Like how does her independence fit into like a more modern context? Because when she moves, did they say what city it is that she moves to? She moves to a big city.
It didn't
but
say.
They didn't. Okay, I was like, I don't think this is supposed to be a stand-in of Tokyo. It's on the coast somewhere. Yeah, I was like, I don't know if this is supposed to be a stand-in for a particular city. And just scrolling, nothing that I read. I did a little bit of reading about it. Nothing that I read said that it was supposed to be a particular city either. Okay, so right, she moves. Then kind of what happens after that?
Let's see. She ends up in that town.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, I guess it's sort of like she's not used to a big city because she's from, like, quite a small town, and she immediately sort of feels like she doesn't belong there, right?
Mm-hmm.
And, like, she doesn't know where she's gonna stay. She, isn't really great at flying her broom yet either.
No. That is something that is something I really liked kind of about it, right? And I think you see this movie was made like long before the first Harry Potter movie, and I wonder if it was kind of inspired by that, right? That it's this idea that the broom and the person riding it sort of have to be in sync, right? Or so there's sort of this relationship between the two that like results in like good broom riding, right? So she's sort of like talking to her broom and she's struggling with it a little bit, right? Sort of trying to, learn how to manipulate it. And I thought that was really cute. There's some like better, it gets her into trouble later in the movie, and even she learns at the end of the movie, she improvises with her broom, which we'll talk about. But I really like that scene. But
yeah. But essentially, and then along the way, she meets Tombo, this dude who likes her.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not really into him, so he's not important right now.
Yeah.
But then she ends up ending up with Osano, who owns the bakery, and Kiki is allowed to stay in like their guest room.
Mm-hmm.
If she helps out with the shop, and then while she's like there, she kind of like realizes that she could have like a delivery service by like delivering things with her broom, and so that's like her purpose. And she's like, great, I found out like what I'm gonna do and what my specialty will be. Which, what did you think of the specialty? Because I was like, really? That's it? But I mean, it was cute, but I was like, oh.
I don't know. So as I'm like thinking about it, right, I like her. I think initially it's a little bit maybe. I think initially it's a little bit underwhelming because it's just.
It's like, can't they all do that?
Yeah, right, absolutely. Like, you're choosing to do the thing right? Because even as she's flying into the city, she meets another witch who lives, is flying back to her town, right? And this witch seems to be like a similar age to Kiki, a little bit older, but she's also like moved out and found her own thing, right? And her specialty is like fortune telling, right? And her mom's specialty was like, making like health potions and things like that, right? And so Kiki's does seem like a little bit underwhelming, maybe a little bit simple.
Well, and it also was like she's like, well, this is the only thing I'm good at, so this is what I'm gonna do. And it's like, oh,
yeah. I mean, but that's very relatable, right? Like, kind of falling into something, or even right, just having the like, not compassion, but just like the understanding to be like, to not fight, right? Because I think, people, or, I guess just even speaking from experience here, like, we think, like, we have an idea of what we want to be good at, but like, not everyone's good at everything, right? So it's either going to take a lot of work, or it's like, in this case, I think there's also some like practicality to that. I think initially, right, it's like practical, right? Because she's like, this is a thing I can do. I need to earn money, right? Because I need to like sort of set up my own independence in this new city. It doesn't seem like inspired or anything at all. Inspired or unique, but I think that idea gets complicated later in the movie. But one thing, and so like this whole, right, her leaving, her like flying, the journey of her flying to the city, and the journey of her like settling down in the bakery was kind of, there's a couple moments when I was sort of, still trying to figure out like what's the tone of this movie, right? Because like, in a, I think something we talked about when we were talking about My Neighbor Totoro, right? Like, nothing sort of bad happens in that movie, right? There's sadness for sure. There's sadness and there's like worry, but there's nothing like bad. And, there were, and I think it's a similar thing here, right? There's so many interactions where I was like, oh, how's this going to go? Right? Because like, she meets that witch, and the witch isn't like mean to her. She's like a little stuck up, but she's not like mean or dismissive or anything, right? Or like when she sort of like struggles and runs into the police in the city, right? But she instantly has like Tombo help her out, right? And you're kind of like, oh, who is this guy? Like, maybe he's like, you're a little bit unsure of like why he's interested in her, but then you like, and this is something comes full circle at the end of the movie. You learn like he just like loves flying. Like, he's so interested in that. So he sees her flying on her broom, right? So it's not this like leering sort of, or like creepy at all, like, like a young boy following a young girl, right? It's just like, he's very interested in like what she can do, right? The fact that she can fly, right? And then the other one was kind of in the bakery. What's the bakery's woman's name?
Osona.
Osona. She has her husband works at the bakery with her, right? And he's kind of this. He's very quiet. I don't know if he speaks very little, if at all, in this movie, right? And I was worried he was going to sort of be this like
a butthole.
Yeah, he was going to be the one who was like mean and sort of like because the woman is like very nice and friendly and welcoming. He was going to be like mean and sort of like make her feel unwelcome, right? But like he's just quiet. He loves baking bread and he's just quiet.
And then didn't
right?
he make her that little sign?
Yeah, right. That was the point when I think that was the point where it's like, oh, okay, this isn't the movie where like, don't wait for the bad thing to happen, because that's not this movie, right? Don't wait for that moment of conflict, because this movie's like doing something else, right? Her journey is about something else. It's not about like conflict and her or like people being mean to her, right? It's something more existential than that. In a similar way to, I keep saying this in a similar way to My Neighbor Totoro, right? That was like, it's about something a little bit more existential, in the way that's about like childhood and imagination, like, growing up and all that stuff. And I think this has some similar themes. But yeah, so Kiki, she meets these people, they take her in, they're very nice to her. The baker man, makes her, he like bakes like a sign. It's a bake that the sign is baked. Is it made out of bread? I assumed it was made out of bread. Yeah. And then he drew like the Kiki's delivery service, and like Kiki has a little cat who she can talk to the cat. It's a very similar like Sabrina the Teenage Witch. Have you ever seen that show? Do you know that show?
Nope.
No. It was a show. I don't even remember when it was on, but she could talk to her cat, and the cat was very sassy. And like, it was a very like smart cat that would like talk back and comment on what was going on. But Kiki's cat is named Gigi. So yeah, they get this delivery service, and there's not a ton of business. There's, she gets one, she gets some business from this woman who wants a toy delivered, to, and this is what probably, like, this is maybe my favorite part of the movie, actually, now that I think about it. She wants a toy delivered, and Kiki's flying there. She loses the toy in a forest, and she's struggling to get it back because like there's some crows who are kind of like, she fell into a nest, and so they're kind of attacking her because they think she's there to take the eggs. And the toy was of like a black cat that looked just like Gigi. And so what she does is she tells Gigi to stand very still. And, like, she delivers Gigi instead. She's like, I'll go find the actual toy and I'll come back and, like, switch them out later tonight. Right? And it's very, it's this very ridiculous premise that is, like, set up for hijinks to ensue. But even then, like this, even this doesn't play out in any way that I think it does. So right. So like she does that, and then she goes back, and she's looking for the toy in the forest, and she manages to find it, but it's with this like a little bit of a woman who's a little bit older than Gigi, but she's living by herself in the forest and working as like a painter. She's an artist, and she has found Gigi's cat, and this was like, in order, what did she make her do? In order to get the in order to get the cat back, what was the trade? What were they trading? There was some exchange.
Did she promise to like let her paint her? Oh no, it was she cleaned her floors.
Was it just cleaning the floors to get the cat back? No, the cat was broken. The cat was like ripped a little bit. She had to sew it. Yeah. And she's like, I'll sew it, but you have to scrub my floors. And it was like, that is not a fair trade.
Yeah.
That is, one of those things is much more difficult than the other one. But it turns out okay, right? And so, talk to us a little bit about what's going on back with Gigi and, Gigi in the house, Gigi pretending to be a toy.
Oh, so I kind of skipped through this part a little bit.
Oh, you did?
I was like, I just want to know what's going to happen immediately.
Oh, this is the best part.
I know, but like, I do know that like the cat made friends with the dog and the dog helped them out. Is that basically it?
Yeah. I mean,
also, like, the kid who was getting the present did not really care about the cat. He was more excited about the bird cage that the cat came in. Yes,
yeah, because he takes the Gigi pretending to be a toy out of the cage and then goes and puts his bird in the cage. But there's a dog there, and the dog figures out that Gigi's like a real cat pretending to be a toy. And so he's sort of carrying Gigi around and like protecting her. And everyone's like, oh, the dog, loves that toy or whatever. And then when Kiki gets there, he carries Gigi out to Kiki. It's just like, it's very sweet, right? It's like, there's some comedy in the way that like Gigi gets like bounced around like a toy and everything. I found that very funny. And then it's just very sweet the way that this like big dog is taking care of the toy, right? And there's another example, right, where this is like it's not gonna like turn out poorly, where like she can't get her cat back, or like she has to like she has to do like more chores to get her cat back or something, right? It's like some on the bad end of another trade. But yeah, so it's just like it's funny and it's very sweet, and it's yeah, right, because this is that movie, right? This isn't like some, again, like nothing really like bad happens to this. And I like, I guess we keep saying that, but like I don't want to say that in a way that's like dismissive, because I really, in the same way I really enjoyed watching My Neighbor Totoro, like I really enjoyed watching this movie.
Yeah, it was really nice.
It's so nice to just watch it and like, to pay attention. Like, I think this movie is asking you to pay attention, because there's like, for one reason, right, reading the subtitles, but like, it's just, there is like depth here, right? So I don't say like nothing bad happens and we like be dismissive or shallow or anything, but it just, it's telling a different type of story. And I think a story that we don't really see in animated movies that come out of studios like Pixar or DreamWorks or things like that. They're just doing something completely different, and it's so nice to watch a movie like this. So yeah, right. So she gets her cat back, and then this kind of gets to like Kiki's sort of, Kiki has a little bit of like existential like worry, like what am I doing, right? So her neck, I don't know if it's her next delivery. She delivers like a very heavy package, and that that goes fine. But then she meets. Oh, you didn't skip over the part with the old women, did you?
Of course not. I love old women. They're so cute.
They're very cute. The old women are very, very cute. They the one is like trying to like pretending to fly around. She like takes the broomstick and is like pretending to fly around on it. She meets she's doing a delivery for these very cute old women who they've baked a pie, and Gigi needs to deliver the pie to the old woman's granddaughter. And so she does that, and she opens the door, and like I mean, to be fair, what was the pie? It was like a herring and pumpkin, or
Yeah, it
herring and
didn't
sweet
sound very
potato.
good. It was like, it did have herring in it, and I was kind of
Yeah,
just like, you
I
lost
was
me
like,
at
I
herring.
mean, to be very honest, I would not want to eat that pie. But like, I don't know. Maybe that's like a very typical flavored, like savory pie in Japan. I don't know, but I don't know if I've ever eaten herring. But yeah, it doesn't sound like something I'd want to eat. But maybe it's fine. But so she takes it, and the girl that the granddaughter opens the door, and she's like, "Oh, I don't want it." She like complains. So she's like, she complains about it, right? She's not thankful or grateful in any way, and just sort of sees Gigi as a little bit of a nuisance for having brought it at all. And it kind of sparks this little bit of a crisis, right? I think Gigi's sort of wondering, why is she doing what she's doing? And so she delivered that pie like in the middle of a rainstorm, so she got like very sick, and so she like spent some time in bed. But when
she also misses the party.
Yeah, she misses the party, right? So like one thing that has been going on is Tombo has been trying to, he's been trying to like just to meet her. He just wants to talk to her, right? And so they have like a club where they get together and talk about flying, and he's made this special bike that has a propeller on it, and that's sort of, they're gonna like meet together and try it out, right? And so this big occasion, but because she was delivering this pie, she missed that party. But yeah, but right, she kind of gets better, but she's still, yeah, I think she's just a little bit unsure of herself, right? I think this is when this is the moment in the movie when the fact that she's like 13 and she's by herself and she's trying to, make a living. She's trying to sustain herself because, and this comes up over and over again, right? They seem to only eat pancakes all the time. I don't know if they're like savory pancakes or something, or if they are sweet pancakes, but like you see her and her cat are they seem to always be eating pancakes because that's all they can afford. But yeah, and so I think that is sort of setting in, and so even after this, she makes a delivery where she gets to like meet Tombo, and she has this sort of nice time with him, right? But even that sort of ends a little bit sourly because he sort of, he wants her to like come meet her friends, but she's not really sure if that's what she wants to do, right? Like she's never really, I don't know if she like, doesn't seem like she goes to school. It doesn't seem like she has a lot of interaction with a lot of other children.
Yeah, and it seemed like they were kind of like jokingly teasing at the start of the movie, and she just kind of was a bit put off by them as well.
Yeah. Not in like a mean way, right? And I think that definitely happened at the beginning of the movie, right? She was aware that they were kind of like making a little bit of fun of her and not being particularly nice. Yeah. But in this situation, you see that they're kind of, they know like who she is and they're a little bit interested in her. But yeah, I think Kiki just feels like uncomfortable, right? And she's not like rude or mean, but she's just kind of, she doesn't want to interact with her, and she's like free to make her own decisions, right? She is like independent, right? She's free to make her own decisions in that moment, right? But this is sort of when she also learns that she can't talk to her cat Gigi anymore. She can't really fly anymore. She can just kind of hover a little for a few seconds, and then she sort of crashes back down.
Yeah.
And she doesn't really know why. She knows that you can lose your witch powers but she doesn't know sort of what has brought this on. She doesn't know if they'll come back. And then not knowing what to do, the woman who she met in the forest, right? Who she's found the cat and she scrubbed her floors, right? She shows up and is like, I've been looking for you, right? I wanted to like, we said you were going to come visit me or we were going to talk some more, right? And she goes and stays with her, and they have this really sweet nice interaction where they talk about, like, I think it sort of, right, because this woman's an artist, so I think it kind of starts about, like, being an artist, right, and about how even an artist, right, even, right, this woman, we see one of her paintings, and it's like, it's like a beautiful painting, right, you're looking at a movie, and you're like, the painting that they made in this animated movie is very, very good. Like, it looks, right, because, like, maybe we talk about this at the end, but, like, again, this movie looks, like, incredible. Not as much,
We're talking
like,
about, like, the horses.
yeah, the
Yeah,
horses,
yeah.
and it's all, like, it's this weird, it's, these very interesting brush strokes where you can kind of see them, but they blend together seamlessly to make this very nice texture. It's a beautiful painting. I was like, I would want that painting. Like, it's gorgeous. So they have, right, this conversation about, like, even when you're, this woman is an artist, like, even as an artist, right, it doesn't necessarily get easier, right? There are just days when I can't do the thing that I'm passionate about and the thing that I'm good at. And I've, like, and that never, even as I get better, right? Even as I feel myself getting, like, more skillful, like, that never, those, like, blocks, right? Those moments of, like, sort of helplessness, right? Where you can't do the thing that you know that you can and should do, those don't go away, right? And then I think she says something to the effect, like, it doesn't get easier. And I found that so, it's not a particularly, like, it's complicated in the sense that, like, it's very honest, but it's, right, it's a kind of a short interaction. It's complicated in the sense that it's honest, but it's not, like, unaccessible, right? I found that so profound, just in its, like, simplicity, right? Because that's the thing, like, even if it's your job, like, if it's whatever, like sometimes you just can't do that thing and you don't know why. What did you, I don't know, for me, that's like the heart of this movie. I don't know, what do you think about that?
Yeah, I thought it was, like, I think that was kind of what she needed to hear. Because I kind of felt like she was maybe being too hard on herself by, like, not understanding, like, why she couldn't understand her cat anymore, or, like, why she was, like, having trouble with, like, flying her broom. And I think that it was, like, good for her to hear that. And I think it's, like a good message overall, because it's not saying, like, anything's wrong with you if you're, like, having a harder time to do anything or something like that. But I think it was, like, I don't know, I think it was really nicely said and, like, also nicely put in that movie.
Yeah. It would. You make a perfect point, right? It's the woman is saying like, she doesn't judge or diminish herself in those moments, and she's saying you can't judge, right? She's saying to Gigi, she's saying or Kiki, she's saying to the audience, like, you can't judge or diminish yourself. Like, this is the things that happens, right? This is a part of, like, being a human. This is part of being growing up, right? It's not an indictment of who you are. That's an amazing point. And yeah, like, I don't know, whoever did the translate, right? I don't know how like, what, how, I don't neither of us speak Japanese, so we don't know how it was, like, said in the original Japanese, but the translation, the, like, subtitle translation puts it, like, so perfectly and so simply. It's like, it's really wonderful, right? She's not, like, and it's this older woman. She's not condescending to Gigi. She's being, like, very honest and very vulnerable, talking about how, like, she just, when she can't do it, right, she has to go take walks. She has to go do other things, right? But those aren't, like, a replacement, and it's not giving up, but it's just like, I can't do that thing right now. Right? And then they also sort of talk, right? I think this is the moment in the movie when, like, Gigi's choice for her thing to be flying becomes more complicated, right? I think at the beginning of the movie, it was like, oh, right, it seems practical. It doesn't seem particularly inspired because it seems like all witches can do this. But this is when she sort of explains how the way that flying sort of speaks to her soul, right? And you understand that this is the thing that she loves, and this how she feels, the thing that makes her feel useful or valuable, and gives her joy. Yes. So you know, yeah, in the beginning, right, that choice seemed very just like, oh, okay, great, that's what you're doing because you can't think of anything else. But I think that right here we get it. That choice was more, that was a more struggling for like, that was.
We'll cut this part out.
No, we don't have to cut this out. We don't have to cut this out.
I mean, you'll cut it out. I don't do anything like that.
It was just it was a choice that spoke more to like, her core, to her soul, right? And as far as the flying being some expression of herself, right? It wasn't just a practical thing. It wasn't just an easy thing to do. It is something that she loves, and it is an expression of herself. Right. But that doesn't, you know, you know, she's struggling to do that thing right now. Right. And so like, how do you get back there? Well, it's not by like being mean and, you know, bagging on yourself and like being hard. Right. But it also does, but I think they also say like, it doesn't mean like getting back to that place where you can do it again is easy. And it doesn't mean that you're not going to, like we said before, it doesn't mean this isn't going to happen again. This particular struggle isn't going to happen again. Yeah. So, you know, yeah, really like a really beautiful, like, you know, pretty like short part of the movie, just a couple minutes, but just like this really deep, beautiful, nice conversation between the two characters that just really, you know, it's about being an artist, but it's also just about being a person and being a young person trying to figure out what you want to do, right? And because I think part of the reason this happens is, you know, I guess like the easy thing, because there is no particular reason that this does happen, right? Like I would struggle to, I think you could make a case for like, oh, it's because she delivered the pie and then the girl was like ungrateful and she was like, what am I doing? Or it's like because she sort of ran into these girls who she knew were a little bit like dismissive of her when she sort of came into town, and then she got in her feelings, right? But I think like I think you could make a case like that led to her this sort of block for her, but like I also think it's more complicated than that, right? I would say it's sort of the weight of everything, right? It's the weight of her being independent and having to like survive and fend for herself and like figure out what to do with herself, right? And all of that's very heavy, especially for a young person, right? I'm sure you're feeling that right now, right? Like maybe you felt it more last year, your first year at college. I know I still feel that, just like I probably feel it more acutely now with being like in quarantine and having more time to yourself, like what to do with a day. I don't know. What do you think about that idea?
You rambled a lot, so I sort of lost track of what you were saying.
All right. I think that means that we gotta get this. And Angela's tired and not paying attention. I was just
paying
saying.
Attention.
Well, so the question was like, what do you think the movies? Do you think there's a specific incident that brings on this sort of struggle with her, or do you think it's just what would you say it is, or what do you think the movie even has an idea of what it is, or is it? I don't know.
I think it was just something. It was kind of just like a long time coming, where it's like that. Mm-hmm. It was bound to happen at some point. It doesn't matter like what happens. Like it doesn't really matter. It's like the girl didn't like the pie, or she didn't want to hang out with Tombo's friends. Like I think she was like bound to just feel that like doubt and uncertainty anyway. So I don't think there was like any specific point.
Okay. See, you were there. Yeah, I mean, that was really well said. I probably didn't need to ramble and just should have asked you more directly. But we're working on it. We're getting better. That was I like that. All right. So, right. Yeah, we have this scene, and then she still is sort of right. So we go back, right, and she's still struggling to fly. She still can't. She's, I think this is when she makes the delivery back. She goes back to the old women to make another delivery after this. Is that correct?
Yep. And then
yeah, because the
she's
thing
like
with
hanging out with that what?
go ahead.
I was just gonna keep on talking about the movie.
Oh no, I'm just trying to figure out the order because she hung out with Tombo, then she went to stay overnight with a woman in the forest, and then she comes back, and she has to make a delivery to the back to the old women's house. Right? Is that correct?
Yeah, something like that. I don't remember how, but she's back at the old woman's house, and then she sees on the TV that there was an accident with like the blimp thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like crashing, and then she sees that Tombo is in danger because he's like hanging off a string of the blimp.
Yeah. And
she's like, oh no. So then she ends up going and she finds like a random broom that's not her own broom because her broom is broken.
It's like one of those big, wide brooms that they use in like warehouses, right? It's not like it's sort of like nice little broom that you use in your house to sweep the floor. It's one of those big, like wide sort of industrial brooms because the guy's sweeping the sidewalk.
Right. Yeah. So she like sees that her friend is in trouble and kind of like wills the broom to like fly for her.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually she like is able to successfully save Tombo and like she's able to fly. And everything seems to be good. But it's interesting though because at the end, Gigi the cat still couldn't like talk to her.
Yeah, it seemed like he.
Why? I really liked Gigi.
Yeah, Gigi sort of finds like they refer to him as his girlfriend. Yeah, he finds a little girlfriend and becomes very enamored with her. Yeah, and it seems like their relationship has very much changed. You don't hear him. After when she loses the ability to hear him for the first time, like that never comes back.
But something that I read was like that it was like because like Kiki or like Gigi was kind of like her voice of reason or like her like kind of like her little like conscience on her shoulder, you know, and like once Kiki sort of like got her confidence back and was like able to fly again, she didn't really need to understand him because she was like wiser.
Oh,
that's what I read because I Googled. I was like, why can't Gigi talk again?
I like that. I like that as an idea. As it's maybe a little bit adolescent, right? Or her reliance on him is maybe a little bit like adolescent, right? So when she can let go of him, right, has she sort of reached sort of a new stage in her life? I like that interpretation quite a bit. I didn't think of that. I guess, but yeah, I would say that probably lines up right with where Kiki is at the end of the movie, versus where she started. What did you? So the ending is this sort of. There's quite a bit of action in the ending, right? There's like this blimp and it's sort of flying low over the city and it's crashing into the bell tower and the tops of the houses, and Tombo is sort of holding on to this rope and he's in a lot of danger and there's like sort of peril and like he lets go and then Kiki, zooms down on her broom and grabs him and it's all there's a lot of action, but I didn't love watching it. I felt you never felt like he was going to die, right? Yeah. It was a little bit drawn out. The rest, like, it would have been very shocking if she had died, right? Or if anything, right? They make a point to say like the blimp won't blow up, like the helium won't blow up, right? It's not going to be very dangerous, right? And they make it a point to show everyone else who is in the blimp is safe, right? So Tombo's the only one in danger, and like no serious, like, a couple like houses are damaged, but there's not a lot of serious destruction. But I get it as an inciting incident to sort of, for Kiki, because even when, I guess one thing that's sort of complicated is she doesn't like get on the broom and she's like, I have to do this and it's fine, right? Like she is struggling with that broom the whole time, right? This even in this, right? Because I think in a lot of movies you see like suddenly when there's like this moment of peril and like hero has to like come, right? Because I don't, I wouldn't even say Kiki's a hero, right? But in a sort of more traditional narrative, the hero, when they have to like do this sort of thing and they're suddenly like they've been struggling and then they have to like go back and try it again because someone's in danger, right? Suddenly they're like everything's fine again. That is very much not the case, right? She's still struggling. She's like, she still can't control the broom, right? Like that block, that if you want to call it like the artistic block is still up, right? That struggle to do the thing that she needs to is still there. It's still something she needs to work through, even though there is sort of this crisis. And so I think it's an interesting scene in that way, but like you said, it's like in sort of the rest of it, like it's not, it's fine to look at. It's a good scene, but it's a little bit drawn out and there's not a ton of tension. But like, I don't know. You know what I mean? Did you feel at all like it felt a little bit out of place, or do you think that's like the wrong read on it?
I feel like it kind of happened out of nowhere, and then it just like went away out of nowhere.
Mm-hmm.
Where it was like, oh, now it's like dangerous, and now it's dramatic, and then like, oh, never mind, it's fine. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I feel like it was almost like not like an easy way to like end the movie or like resolve it, but it was sort of, I don't know. I guess I maybe wished it was, like, different in some way, or that, like... Because, like, I feel like the whole part of the movie, like, there wasn't really, like, a lot of, like, action,
Mm-hmm.
So then seeing, like, that was kind of, like, felt out of place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, and I guess, right, like, the action isn't really what's important, right? The action, the thing that's important throughout that scene, the thing that's been important throughout the whole movie is like what is sort of going on with Kiki, what's going on in her head, what is going on with the way that she expresses herself, which she told us is through her ability to fly and her ability to use her broom, right? So I think that is even in the action scene, that is where like the sort of tenseness is, right? That is where the like, whoa, what's going to happen, right? It's not with, is Tombo going to fall? It's not with, is anyone's going to kill? It's like, how is Kiki working with herself, right? How is she overcoming this block that has sort of set her back in this part of the movie, right? I think, the action scene is just I think you're right. Like it would have been different to see her over, right? Because she could overcome that, but it doesn't necessarily have to be this big action scene because that seems a little out of touch, or not out of touch, but it just seems it's just very different from the rest of the movie. But the tenseness in that action scene isn't with what is anyone going to die. It's with what is going on with her, which I guess I still do appreciate, right? Because the movie never takes its focus off of like that, right? Her struggle for independence, her struggle to grow up and like assert herself in, a world that's like more, that's sort of bigger and more complicated than she's used to. Yeah. So I don't know. I want to talk a little bit about the music and sort of just how it looks before we get out of here. Do you have anything else you want to say about like the story or the themes or anything?
No, I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So like, right, this movie looks great. I think, it's something, right, and we talked about this in the last few movies, something these Studio Ghibli movies are really good at is just being very silent. There was a couple moments like I think there's a moment where she's like sweeping her room and it's just like, or no, there's a moment where she's sick in bed, right? And you just see her in bed and then you see Gigi come onto the windowsill, and the only thing you hear in the whole scene is just the cat's paws on the ground, right? And it's this like beautiful, it's just like this very silent, beautiful thing, right? You're sort of, you understanding the cat's concern, and you're kind of learning what's going on with Kiki. And there's a couple other moments right there, right? I think it prevents it, when she's up in the air, right? These sort of, you just like, it's her and the wind, and you get sort of the expansiveness of the sky, right? And the only thing that really, the only one of them, like the only thing that interrupts it is like an airplane that goes over her, right? And so it does this very good job at like communicating that she is up there with these other flying machines, right? Like it's not, the flying is sort of on this epic scale, right? She's very high up in the sky, right? Or she's with the geese and with the birds, right? She's up with these other creatures that inhabit this space.
I thought it would be funny if one of them pooped on her.
Oh.
I was gonna
no, I was like, because geese are kind of nasty, and I was wondering if it's a thing where she learns that geese are actually kind of nasty birds, but no, nothing like that happened. So this, looks great. And again, like even, just these great still moments, it looks very good, right? It communicates her motion with her flying really well. And, one of the standout like single visuals was like the painting inside of that, that the woman made, or the artist made, was just this beautiful painting. And then I loved how, this will probably be our last point, I loved how, I think for like each delivery had its like own song. Did you pick up on that?
No.
Oh, okay. I was like trying, because I was like, there wasn't like the music that played when she went into the air. I feel like each delivery, I don't know, I love the music in this, right? And I think we talked about this in the last couple, like the music in these is so, it's so good. But I think by like the second or third time she went up in the air, I was like, oh, they're playing different songs, and they each have a little bit of their own theme. And there are these really nice, I couldn't even like particularly describe them, but just these like nice sort of bright songs, right? Because when she is up in the air, it is this very excuse me, it is this very joyful experience for her, as she explains later in the movie. Anything else you want to say, Ange?
No. Well, actually, yeah. How would you, if you were gonna rate all of the ones you watched so far, where is?
I think it's tough. I was looking through like everything on HBO Max. I think there's like 22 or 23. We're gonna watch 5, and I was like, man, there's some of these other ones, like I should still watch them. Some of the pictures, even just on HBO Max, are like very wild. Like,
wait, but which?
What? No, there's like what? One with like a.
Which order are you gonna rank?
Well, I don't.
the ones out of the ones we watched. Go have to rank them all.
Out of the ones we
like, just
watched,
like, out of the ones that we've watched, which one has been your favorite so far?
I think My Neighbor Totoro has been my favorite one. Yeah, I think that's still my favorite one. I really, I enjoyed the like goofiness. I enjoyed the more. I think while this movie looks good, I think I appreciate this art showing off a more like pastoral sort of rural setting than I do it showing off like a more urban setting. And I don't know. I love what that story is. And I think part of it is just like, I haven't seen an animated movie like that before. And I think it still sticks. It still sticks in my mind, right? I think we said in there, like, I don't know if I'll ever watch it again. It won't be anytime soon, but like, of these 3, that's the one that like, I'm like, oh, Princess Mononoke was like, go back and like, is there anything else I can figure out? But like, the one that I like want to watch just like because I liked it so much, it is My Neighbor Totoro. What about you?
Just because it's like, there was more, like, I liked both of those. Okay. More, because I guess it was just easier for me to like taken than Princess Mononoke, even though I really like that one as well.
Yeah. Yeah, so we'll have one more episode. I think we're going to watch... It'll be a double episode, so it might be a little bit longer. We're going to watch Howl's Moving Castle and Spirited Away in a couple weeks. So that'll be a double episode. That'll sort of wrap up our little, like, tour through the Studio Ghibli movies. Maybe we'll do some other ones. Yeah, it was just, like, some of the pictures, there's, like, movies where there's, like, a pig flying an airplane. There's, like, a talking fox who looks like he's, sort of a smooth talking fox. So I was like, I don't know what's going on there. That looks interesting. But yeah. All right. So we're gonna come back with what the things that what we've been enjoying this week. We'll see you in a second after the short break. And we are back. Ange, why don't you start us off? What have you been enjoying this week?
I really like the show Killing Eve, and I didn't know that Hulu had released the 3rd season. So I found it out at 11 p.m. 2 nights ago, and I watched the whole season in one night, and I don't regret it at all. Except, honestly, it was a little bit confusing. The ending I didn't really get. It was a little bit harder to follow, but that also may have just because it was when I was supposed to be asleep. But really, I like that show. I would recommend that. It's on Hulu, or I think it's on other things that you have to pay for.
Okay, can you tell us a little bit what it's about, and then why you like it?
So it has Sandra Oh in it and Jodie Comer.
Jodie Comer. Yeah.
Yeah. And so there's Villanelle, who's the assassin, and then Eve is a person with MI6 who's essentially just trying to take her down, but then you kind of see that Eve and Villanelle have a weird infatuation with each other, where it's it's a bit destructive to both of them. And it's just interesting. I think their characters were just really well written, which made it so interesting to watch, because it is a thriller, action-y type TV show, and normally those are kind of hard, difficult for me to get into, but because all the characters are really well written, it made it really engaging. So yeah, I really like that one.
Yeah, so this is the first season. I think her involvement with the series has gone on. She was very involved in making the first season. I think less in the second and less in the third, but it was created by Phoebe Waller-Bridge, who she's very well known for doing this. She is the person who makes and stars in Fleabag on Amazon. I think she also was the voice of the Han Solo's robot in Solo. She's sort of the smart robot who's advocating for, she sort of starts a robot uprising for the better treatment and recognition of or droids. I guess they're not robots, they're droids in Star Wars. But yeah, so she's sort of blown up, and then I think, I don't know, she might have worked on the newest James Bond. I might have got that wrong. I thought I heard that at some point that she she did some rewriting, but maybe not. But anyways, yeah. So Phoebe Waller-Bridge. If you like Killing Eve, if you really like how it's written, I would check out Fleabag, because it's another. It's characters that you in a story that you might not be interested in, but the characters are really well written. Okay, great. I've been enjoying. So we record this on. We use Discord to record this. So I've been spending more time on Discord, and I've joined. Are you a member of any Discords? Have you joined any Discord servers?
No, just the one for when me and my friends play Animal Crossing together.
Okay. So I've joined for 2 or 3 podcasts I listen to they're like the community of people that listen to those shows have started Discord servers. So I've joined those servers and just have been really enjoying being right. They like organize the servers by like topics, and some are more organized than others. But just sort of jumping in there and just seeing who else is on and seeing what people are talking about and participating in these like random and sprawling conversations people are having. I don't know. I don't really, I have Twitter, but I don't do like a ton of social media. And, even when I play video games, if I play online, I don't do voice chat or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But this has been really nice I think the nice thing about Discord is it's much more orientated around having live conversations, right? And it gives you the space to sort of write a lot and for the sort of back and forth between a couple of different people to be very immediate, which I enjoy. And, and be back, you can have this back and forth and it can be immediate and it doesn't have to be over voice, right? Because like talking to random people is different than like having a text conversation with them. But yeah, so it's been really nice. I've been really enjoying that. There've been some like there's always someone on there. I was up to like 2 the other night, just like they were talking about like we were talking about the philosophy.
Where you get into a fight with somebody?
No, they're like nice. It's like and I'm sure they're not all like this, but they have been so nice, right? And I think if you go in with like, and if someone wanted to like get in there and stir some shit, they could, but they have been like very nice people, like engaging in earnest conversations, because I think, I don't know, I guess I would hope people genuinely want that. I know not everyone does, but like we were talking about like capitalism, and sort of the philosophy of capitalism, how it's not really, in sort of a, it's not in achieving the world that like we in the conversation we were having, and achieving the world that we kind of want to live in, right? It's not like a good system for doing that, right? Because it's not effective for fighting climate change, or it's not effective for sort of ensuring racial and economic justice for all types of people, all groups. And so, yeah, and that conversation went until like 2 a.m, and then I jumped on the next morning. I went at some point, I was like, I have to go to bed, and then I jumped on the next morning, and it had gone on, and then like we just kind of started it up again for a couple hours. So yeah, like it's been really nice, and it's kind of one of those things. I'm not on it all the time, just because it is something that it's not sort of like I can't do it in a sort of passive sense. It's a thing I kind of want to engage with and be focused on. In the way like I think Twitter or Instagram or TikTok, right there, you just kind of say something, you put it out there, right, and other people respond as they will. But I like the sort of immediacy of Discord. So I've really been enjoying getting back into that over the last couple of weeks.
Cool.
Yeah, if you could probably find like I'm sure there's BTS Discords if you want to talk to other.
Yeah, I could.
I'm sure there's Animal Crossing Discords. I'm sure.
I feel like I don't take anything very, very seriously, though.
What's the Nicole Byers podcast?
If there was a podcast just for Nicole Byers, well, actually, I don't know, because I feel like a lot of her fans are like too cool for me.
Well, I'm sure some of the podcasts you listen to have Discords associated with them. Whether or not you want to join them is another issue. But I'm sure if you wanted to, you could.
I'm not particularly very deeply interested enough to go talk about it more than the attention I already give it.
But I wonder, because I think the interesting thing, because podcasts are a pretty like unique thing, right? Like, I guess even this is right. We hope the appeal is broad enough, but we know that like even the stuff that we choose to talk about like kind of narrows it down, right? Like you're gonna have to like be interested in like hearing us talk about like Studio Ghibli movies or video games or whatever, right? So even it's self-selecting in that sense, right? And then it's self-selecting again for like people like choosing to download and be on Discord, right? So, and I think like if you're one of those people, right? So if you're one of those people, right? Those people might be much more similar to you than you think they are, right? Because the podcast is this, the people who listen to the podcast is the self-selecting group. And then the people who engage with Discord is like another self-selecting group inside of that podcast group. And so I think there's like good chances to find people who you are similar with and who you enjoy talking to. But I'm not telling you to go out and find it if but all right, that brings us to the end. So we're going to be back next week. Next week we're going to be talking about Angela's going to be doing all the talking next week.
I'm so excited.
Fantastic. We're going to be talking about BTS.
Yes.
So it'll be good. It's going to be a good episode.
Are we going to do both? Or we going to do something else? Because I think on the podcast schedule, it looks like we were going to talk about another thing for the same episode. But
yeah. We're going to be doing BTS, and then we're going to be doing Sufjan Christmas music.
Is that going to be one episode?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I might take up a lot of time for BTS, but okay.
Okay. We'll figure it out.
Okay.
If we need to split it up, we can split it up, but let's see how we go. All right, so that brings us to the end. Again, you can follow Angela on Instagram at glow.angela. You can follow me on Twitter at Joey Glowacki. Those links are in the show notes. For anyone listening, if you want to give us a review, or if you want to contact us on either of those sites and let us know what you think, we'd be really glad to hear some feedback and just sort of what people enjoy and what they think about the show. That would be very appreciated. But yeah, the music you heard on this episode is the song Something Elated by the band Broke for Free. You can find their music on the Free Music Archive. And that is our episode for this week. We will see you next time. Bye.
Never in my life did I imagine it would be. Never in my life did I imagine it would be. Never in my life did I imagine